Hi, in this video, I'll be discussing the muscles of the rotator cuff, which is found around the shoulder joint. There are 4 muscles that make up the rotator cuff: the supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, and subscapularis. Before I go too much in depth about these muscles, I'll share my way of how I predict and figure out the action of new muscles, so hopefully it's helpful and you can do these while you follow along later on in the video. When I see a new muscle, I like to first make note of the attachment points. Like the name suggests, attachment points are areas of bones to which muscles attach. These are important to point out because depending on where the ends are, the muscles can have drastically different actions when they contract. Once I find out the attachment points, I like to act it out myself and focus on moving that particular muscle and noticing what it does when it moves to determine the action of the muscle. For example, if a muscle that has attachment points at the acromion process of the scapula and the deltoid tuberosity of the humerus in your upper arm, I'll mentally and sometimes physically make note of where the acromion process and deltoid tuberosity are on my own body. Then I'll move the muscle that connects to these points. In this example, when the muscle contracts, the arm lifts away from the body. We call this abduction, and it happens at the shoulder joint, as you can see here. For some more difficult ones, I like to find models or pictures of the muscle itself, and if the model allows, see the muscle contraction in action. Now, back to the rotator cuff. Let's start with the supraspinatus. This muscle takes the shape of a cylinder. It's easier to be found in the back view of the scapula or the posterior view of the scapula. It runs laterally between the supraspinous fossa of the scapula, which is found here, and the greater tubercle of the humerus, which is found there. Now we can determine the action of the supraspinatus. Since it attaches to the supraspinous fossa and the greater tubercle, we can see that when you work that muscle, it will move the arm away from the body. This is abduction of the shoulder joint. If you're confused about what action the muscle does, you can try other actions like rotation about the attachment points that the muscle is attached to and see if you can feel the muscle actually work. If the muscle doesn't contract, then it isn't responsible for that action. Next, we'll look at the infraspinatus. This muscle is bigger than the supraspinatus and is easier to find in the posterior view of the scapula also. It's shaped like a triangle with attachment points at the infraspinous fossa of the scapula here and the greater tubercle of the humerus here. The striations of this muscle run laterally on the scapula. So if we focus on the 2 attachment points and move the muscle between them, we see that your shoulders are able to move or rotate freely away from your body. This is called lateral rotation of the humerus, which is the infraspinatus's main function. You may also notice that the infraspinatus is also involved a little in moving your shoulder backwards. Since we're increasing the angle of the shoulder joint, we call this extension of the shoulder joint. The teres minor is a smaller muscle than the infraspinatus. Looking at the anterior view of the scapula, its attachment points are at the lateral border of the scapula and the greater tubercle of the humerus. Its striations run laterally. Knowing this, we can physically move the muscle to determine its action. You may notice that the action is smaller to that of the infraspinatus. Its main action is the lateral rotation of the humerus, but it also assists with extension of the shoulder joint. The last muscle I'll be discussing today is the subscapularis. This muscle is easier to see in the front view or the anterior view of the scapula. It's a big muscle shaped like a triangle with its striations running laterally. It attaches to the subscapular fossa of the scapula here and the lesser tubercle of the humerus here. If you flex the muscle, you'll see that the main action of the subscapularis is a medial rotation of the humerus. I hope that was clear and that you found it helpful. Thank you for watching.